Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is Dr. Halimah, and today's lecture is number 11. It is mainly practical. As I said at the very beginning of the course, that this course is really more practical than theoretical. That's why I have allocated the last three lectures to practicals. And today's lecture is the first one among these three practicals, mainly practicals. That's why we hope that by the end of this lecture, you should be able to, or you should have practiced some translation of certain excerpts from, let's say, poetry, orations, or shorter stories, and we will discuss together, how we have translated these excerpts and what lessons in translating we have learned from them. So today we are focusing on the practical aspect of the translation more. I mean, we have been emphasizing the practical aspect of the translation or creative translation from day one, as you know. But today is mainly practical. The main purpose of this lecture is to look at a variety of excerpts, taken from different genres, such as poetry, oration, and shorter story. Translate them and discuss the process of creativity in their translation. So please pay attention and try to think with me and see how we have tackled these examples. Now look at this, for instance, example number 1. I have selected examples from religious poetry. I mean, how can we translate religious poetry if we wanted to? And we will see. I mean, you remember that we have discussed translating sacred texts in lecture number 5 and number 6. So please refer to these lectures and understand the theoretical background of translating religious poetry or religious texts. Today, and this example is about how to translate religious poetry into English. Now, do we need just to transfer the meaning of the poem, or what? Or shall we focus on the rhyme, the psychological aspect of the poem, the religious connotation of the poem, the social associations of the poem? So you need to really think poetic. You need to think poetic, whether you are translating from Arabic into English or from English into Arabic. So look at this poem in Arabic and and see how we can translate this poem. And Allahu khaliqu dunyana in kunta haqqan insana min ghayri raybin aw shakkin imtala al-qalbu imana wa hayatuka ibna al-bashari ka liqa'i al-bahri bin-nahri yajri yatadaffaqu lil-bahri yusawwi fawqa al-hajari lan ta'khudha malan wa mata'an fi al-qabri kullaka qad da'a in taba al-'amalu fala khawfun ma yakhsaru 'abdan in ta'a. Very simple words, but full of meanings. It's poetry, it has a rhyme, it has a rhythm, and even it has some kind of musicality. That you can see that there is some kind of music in it. You can really sing it if you wanted to. Try to sing it. Now, okay, let's see. How are we going to translate this? Are we going to translate it literally? Are we going to be faithful? Are we going to be are we going to translate it semantically only, or communicatively, or idiomatically, or or shall we go for adaptation, free translation? You know, I'm sure you still remember the theory of translation and the methods of translation we studied together in previous courses, in the theory of translation course. So let's see how we look at how we translate the first couple of lines. الله خالق دنيانا إن كنت حقا إنسانا. A, B, C. Now look at A. God is the creator of the world if you were really a man. إن كنت حقا إنسانا. من غير ريب أو شك, without a doubt, this would fill the heart with faith. امتلأ القلب إيمانا. We have conveyed the meanings, and it seems okay, you know, but I don't know about the Englishness of it. Does it really sound really Englishy, or we will see. I'm not going to tell you which is the right one. Why? Because by now you should have developed some kind of appreciation to what is creative and to what is not creative. I'm sure you can guess which is the best and most appropriate translation to the couple of lines here. Now B, Allah is the creator of the world. If you were a man, without any suspicion, your heart should have faith in God. Another way of interpreting it, another way of conveying it. Again, test your Englishness. Does it sound the right and most appropriate translation to the Arabic one? On what basis? What is the criteria you use to say, okay, this is better than this, or this is better than that? You should say, okay, accuracy. Is it accurate in the sense of meaning? And is it natural? Naturalness. How natural does it sound? The third criteria, communication. Is it communicated the message the author wants to convey? So you have the three main criteria: accuracy, naturalness, and communication. In other words, you say, okay, have I achieved equivalence? Have I achieved communicative purpose? Have I achieved the right style? All these questions you need to ask yourself and judge whether A, B, or C. Now listen to C. Allah is the creator of the world. Man must say without a shadow of doubt, I believe in God. Alright? So this is just an example how you can translate a text in different ways, different versions, but they are not the same. They don't have the same effect. You know, there is better, and there is best, and there is acceptable, there is some kind of satisfactory translation, and there is some kind of unsatisfactory translation. You know, this is just the first couple of lines. Now look at the second one. وحياتك يا ابن البشر كلقاء البحر بالنهر يجري يتدفق للبحر يسوي فوق الحجر. Imagine the image, and then see how we have translated this into three versions again. Now, your life, son of Adam, is like the sea meeting the river, running towards the sea to settle above the seabed. Alright? So, again, ask yourself these 6 questions: accuracy, naturalness, communication, equivalence, communicative purpose, style. These are the key words you use always when you are checking something, you know, in translation, or whenever you want to translate. Have these 6 keywords in your mind and always refer to them. How close are you to them? How close and approximate this translation is to these keywords, to these criteria. B, your life, man, is like meeting the river with the sea, running towards the sea to join it with settlement. I'm not going to say which one. I'm not going to say which one is the best, you know, or most appropriate, really. C, man's life is passing away fast like a stream in its way to the sea to stay. No comment. All right? So these are just examples for you to follow when you are translating. But please, you need to practice. You need to practice. It is not enough to look at them, and you need to analyze them. You need to learn the words. You need to learn the, you know, how we have translated them together. The last couple of lines: لن تأخذ مالا ومتاعا في القبر كلك قد ضاع إن طاب العمل فلا خوف ما يخسر عبد إن طاع. A, you will not take with you money or goods to the grave. If your work is good, don't be afraid. He who obeys never gets lost. A. B, you will take neither money nor goods to the grave being lost. Don't be afraid if you have done good deeds, as he who obeys God will never go astray. I know some of them are not grammatically correct, by the way. You know, you need to check yourself. Does it sound grammatically correct? Does it sound communicatively appropriate? You know? And number C, man, it's time you stopped seeking money. Just think of thy destiny. Nothing you will take with you to the grave but few. Imagine, you know. So these are examples of how we can translate religious poetry. You need to really think of the psychological effect of the poem, the emotive effect, the religious effect, the stylistic features of the poem, the communicative purpose of the poem, the accuracy of the meanings of the poem, you know, and so on and so forth. All right? Now we move to another type of examples. I'm sure you remember when we talked about how to translate a short story. It's lecture number 9. So you can refer to it and see for yourself how can we translate a short story into English or from English into Arabic. And we talked about stages, you know. You need to, for instance, when you are translating a short story, or you need to really first, you need to make a first crude handwritten draft that you don't refer to again. So you make a draft, a quick draft, and then don't refer to it, but only when it is necessary. Then you translate it. You give it the next stage, or the second stage, which is the translation of proper. You start writing, rewriting, and crafting your translation. You check the lexis, the vocabulary, and the words Have you used the right words? Have you used the right expressions? Is there anything missing here? Is there any do you need to add? Do you need to delete? So so first stage is a draft, second stage is translation proper. You need to do this, because the more you revise, the more you rewrite, the better the writing becomes. Now, if we want to look at an example in a minute, you need to take into account again the communicative purpose of the story, and the equivalence of the story in English or in Arabic, either way, and the stylistic features of the story. What we mean by the stylistic features means the linguistic choices the author has made, and you need to think of the social and cultural dimensions of the story. And you need to really look into the environment. I mean, when is it written? How is it written? Where is it written? You need to ask yourself all these questions before you translate any short story. All right. So let's look at this. Okay. For example, let's take the following example to see. It's taken an excerpt taken from a story in Arabic called Qas Qas, cut and chat. Cut and chat, and it's been, of course, translated into different versions. I mean, if we can look at the following excerpt from this story to see, how people have translated this short message or short text, and ask yourself, has the translator of any of these versions, have they achieved equivalence in their translation? Have they achieved the communicative purpose? Does it sound natural? Does it sound accurate, appropriate? And has he achieved the right style, the style of storytelling? I mean, you cannot translate in a style used in legal documents, for instance, or you cannot translate a story into in a form of a letter. So you need to really abide by the not only the linguistic rules of the text, but also the stylistic rules of the text. So the linguistic choices, whether they were lexical or grammatical, or they are semantic choices, or literary choices, or let's say metaphorical choices, So you need to really think of all these elements when you are translating a short story. After all, you are dealing with a creative piece of writing. So you need to really approach it with a creative mind. And what we mean by a creative mind, it means you have to think imaginative, you have to think creative, you have to think of inventive. You need to really go wild a bit, so that you can explore your abilities, your imagination, your strength, your contemplation, your ability to bring something about new novel. And can you make someone like me say, wow, Ahmad, wow, Zahra, wow, Hanan, also, you have come up with some interesting translation. I'd like you really to feel the text, to live the text, to smell the text, and live it, and then start translating it. You know, going through a draft first, and then you say, all right, I've done this bit, let me go and have a cup of coffee or tea, and then come back and then rewrite the translation. You know, this is how you should attack a text, you know, especially a creative writing. You need to really be, you need to be really, what we say, aggressive to it. I can use this aggressive word. Why? You need to be aware, awake and alert, and, you know, on your toes when you are translating a creative piece of writing. All right? So look at this, how we've translated it. يفكر كثيرا في أن الحلاق كان يغط في ذلك الوقت في نوم عميق، غير أن فكرة الذهاب كانت تلح عليه وتغريه إغراء بوظة لطفل عطش في عز الصيف. Now look at A and B and C, and see how three people differ in their translation. He did not expect that the Baba might be sleeping deeply at this time, but the idea of going was tempting him, as a child gives up to the temptation of tasty ice cream on a hot summer day. This is one way. Again, I'm not going to say to you which is the most appropriate one. I'd like you to analyze it grammatically, lexically, semantically, communicatively, and stylistically, and all, you know, using all the criteria we have agreed on. B, he did not think that the Baba might be falling asleep, but the idea of going was persistent and tempting him like a child being tempted by an ice cream in the middle of a hot summer. You know, so again, C, which is better? Number C, the possibility that the Baba might be sound asleep at this time of the day did not cross his mind, not once, because the thought of going to the Baba's was as tempting as a cold ice cream for a child who is thirsty in the middle of a summer hot day. I'm sure you would agree with me that there is one among these three most appropriate, the best, the most approximate translation of the Arabic one. Okay, so these are just examples. These are just I mean, look at D. I've given you another one for D and even E. I don't want to read all of them, but I've given you a few translations of the same text. All right, so please study these examples. In addition to that, I would like you to, you know, look at this practical Arabic one. Now this practical A, it is a poem written about, I have written this poem about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I would like you to translate it into poetry and see, can you really come up with a good poem? Okay, so this is a poem for you to translate into Arabic. Okay, the second practical, it's a short story. Again, it's an excerpt from Arabic into English. I'd like you to practice and translating them, because I will be talking about the exam questions later in my the number 14 lecture, and I will talk about them you know, on live sessions with you in due course. So please, most of the questions, all the questions will come from the slides and from the handouts. The handouts, we will attach them. I mean, all the lectures have some handouts. You read the handouts and you read the slides, and you should be all right. Okay, so that's it for today, and I hope that you have learned something today, and I wish you all the best, and thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.